season. So our sprint race, unlike last time, might not be as set in stone. The format tonight: a one-shot qualifying, a 9-lap sprint race where we will reverse the top 10, and then a 13-lap feature. This one should fly by, folks. So yeah, don't go anywhere. It's going to be a fun-filled hour.
Yeah, just had a little bit of a correction there by the looks of things. We did have the stream live, but it looks like it's only just come live. So apologies for that one, folks. Welcome aboard to the Belgian Grand Prix. This is our final of our F2 events in this season as well. By the sounds of things, we're going to be getting going very imminently with this one. Of course, the one-shot qualifier to set the grid for the main race. And, of course, we have our sprint race a little bit later down the line. It's fact, the sprint race first, then the main event, of course. So this is going to be an absolute cracker. 27 seconds here. Early indications before we get into the standings say that RSC are in a very tightly close battle for P2 in the standings, but SCI currently starting to put a bit of a gap between everyone else.
Yeah, quite right. So close in there. I think any sort of result tonight would change the standings quite drastically. 1 point between RSC and AMR, 10 points further back are Ventari, but do not undermine FRT, ET8 and GT10. They're all separated by 6 points between those as well. So yeah, with pole points and the sprint race points available here today, we should see, changes in this championship standings within the next 2 minutes, which is quite crazy to say.
Yeah, pretty close in this championship. We'll go into that in just a few short moments. It's just following ET8's Brando at the moment. So I believe it is ET8 Brando as well. More about that one in just a second. He is now heading his way in the Invicta straight down towards Lacombe, where we would expect a lot of people to be going for their overtaking. Of course, here tonight it is him alongside Lorenz. Here tonight is the ET8 drivers. He's now headed his way through the top of the corner at Malmedy into Bruxelles, where we'll keep a very firm eye there on, it looks like, Epic Vale and Monza. The two RSC drivers also getting in very tight-knit competition as well. Down at the back, we've also got in the Dams cars, Rev Caterpillar, and it looks like someone making a mistake in Karim as well, actually, down in now in P19. It's a little mistake at No Name for the team that represented in the Dams. I believe that one to be FRT, so keep an eye on that one. AIX looking pretty strong at the moment through Ventari's Thomas and Nino at the moment as well, looking pretty strong here. Are that outfits with a steady climb at the moment, actually. Ventari now onto pole position, beating the RSC men, and Nino also trying to get in close proximity, keeping a very firm eye towards the front though. RSC trying to pile on that pressure, but Thomas has had an absolutely excellent second sector in the AIX. He now heads his way down towards the bus stop chicane. Vanna Spinoda gaining some ground very quickly and actually battling with Brando at the moment for P4 to get onto the second row. Lorenz has gone for the later breaker though there for ET8, but is anyone going to get out of the back there? Ventari Thomas having a pretty poor final corner though, has allowed RSC to snag the 1-2, so they are at the front there. Are the VARs, the Van Amersfoort cars, and there RSC looking very strong indeed with the front row start for the main race.
Yeah, very impressive indeed. Just a week on, well, 2 weeks on, I should say, break last week from SCI's race 1-2 in Spain. RSC have responded with a qualifying 1-2 here in Spa. Very nicely done indeed, with Vanna Spinoda in P3 there. Not bad again for ET8, just missing that finishing touch as they still chase some race wins this season. Haven't won since round 2, of course, when we had the fours round. So yeah, some work to do for them in the race. Not the biggest of field spreads, surprisingly. Yeah, there was a few mistakes further down. Mulder 2 seconds off. Bino, whatever happened to him, he's about 5 seconds off. But for such a long track around here in Spa, surprising to see the grid so close.
Worth making note, Vanna Spinoda no longer a Ventari driver, obviously now for SCI, so decent effort from him as well in that field. Let's take a quick look at the standings then. This is post-Spain, of course, and look how tightly compact it is. So, of course, SCI have managed to eke out a little bit of a gap at the front, but RSC, AMR and Ventari separated just by 11 points. 1 point separating RSC and AMR, 1 point separating FRT from ET8, and 6 points, separating 5th from 7th with Grand Track 10. And then down at the back, even though they're at the back, BRC and IRT having a really nice ding-dong between themselves for P8 and 9. Fastest Stay True just starting to pick up their rhythm as they field 2 new drivers here tonight. They're looking a little bit on the stronger side. Here is what the grid is looking like there. We'll go into a little bit more detail later on about the specifics of this as well, but Fastest Stay True fielding Robin, Matt 7 here tonight, and then you've got Mulder and Phil for IRT. That's going to be a close battle between them, I would suspect, but of course keeping a very firm eye as it stands on RSC, looking very strong indeed, Joseph. Front row start for them, but 9th and 10th for the sprint.
Yeah, I mean, obviously overtaking opportunities around here, so they won't be too worried that they're going to stay there. I think they'll be confident they'll be able to get on the front foot and attack early, but of course some big names up in the reverse positions. Volakongan up in 3rd. You'd expect him potentially to overtake the likes of Rev Caterpillar and Fastest Stay True's Matt in order to potentially go on and win this race. Both Ventari drivers, both ET8 drivers, and of course the new SCI recruit in Fana Spinoda to try and overtake as well. So yes, some big names in there, and of course, well, Rev Caterpillar, our previous sprint winner, again finds himself in almost a perfect position. Obviously, P2 highly regarded around here as one of the better places to start and pick up that slipstream all the way down to Lacombe. Will he lead another sprint lap this evening?
Yeah, Fana Spinoda obviously making the switch originally from Ventari. 6 months with them he spent in the end, I think it was, before deciding to depart. March 19th, he made the announcement that he had departed Ventari. On March 19th, Shazoo Cedar Igniters decided to announce that he had joined them. So the Frenchman very happy with the switch over to the championship winning team. Fana Spinoda showing clearly something for SCI here, potentially some growth opportunities for him. Is he considered by SCI as potentially an upcoming driver within console under Joseph?
Yeah, I mean, he's been going for a few years now. Up and coming might be a bit of a cliche at this point, but finally just starting to blossom, I'd say, as a real all-round driver. And that's exactly the sort of thing that SCI need. And they've looked at him and gone, yep, we'll have some of that. We will poach him for our title charge, but I'll let you take the 5 red lights.
Yeah, because here we go, because these drivers are getting themselves ready for what will be no doubt a quick race around here. We're in a sprint in Belgium, and Matt, of course, leading the way for Fastest Stay True, managed to get P10, but Rev Caterpillar immediately showing the pace straight around the outside. He will go then of turn number 1 and making an absolute treat of La Source. A few people off down at the back there, and doesn't look like anything too significant. Might have been Salter for GT10 there, but Rev Caterpillar leading the way from Matt, getting a really good start, did the FRT man here. But Volakongan, of course, the slower of the SCI drivers here tonight, is going to be breathing down the necks, but with that toe looking very nice indeed for Fastest Stay True to retake the lead here. Volakongan electing to bump draft rather than go down the inside. Is it going to be 1 or is it going to be 2 positions lost, I wonder, here for Rev Caterpillar? He gets a good start, but it might have cost him dearly, but he's going to hold on to the 1 switchback opportunity then for SCI's Volakongan, but electing not to go for the move. Very tightly compacted between Epic Vale here and Nino looking around the mix here as well. There's Nino and Thomas for Ventari as well. Bang of wheels there from RSC's Monza as they continue side by side through No Name. They're getting the better exit up to P7 for them.
Predestinato was wide there at No Name. I think he just got shoved off in amidst all of that carnage that was going on there. I say carnage, just drivers trying to get alongside each other and make up positions on this opening lap. Volakongan, unfortunate not to get up into P2. I think he just broke traction ever so slightly coming out of turn 5 at the Lacombe chicane. Rev Caterpillar, of course, losing that position because in the end, it was Matt who was slipstreaming all the way down. Did he have that poor start on purpose? It makes you wonder. That's a bit of a daft thing to say. I don't think he would have wanted to risk losing more positions than what was necessary. He gets the lead straight back through that long straight. We'll see the DRS enabled before you know it. An even bigger helping hand down the main straight.
Would you believe the front 4, after all of that fighting, have actually now remained on as even? They've all in the positions where they started, but 1 position gain for Thomas, and then you've got Epic Vale and Monza looking strong, 3 positions gain. We've got a bit of battle happening towards the midfield at the back there. Not sure what happened, but we've got people already pitting. Looks like Karim is already in as well. We've got Devil getting in the mix there with Robin as well. Fastest Stay True man out of form at the moment, driving Max Esterson's Trident as they go side by side, or potentially actually going all the way up Eau Rouge. It is very difficult to do these in these cars, but they'll continue to do so. Straight off of the track there for Robin. He'll have to concede that position straight back, one suspects, against Devil, but it looks like he's not going to fight for it. If anything, actually, it looks like Predestinato is trying to get in the mix a little bit here. Is he going to go for the dive? I wonder, into the next corner. He elects not to in the end. He defends it, does Devil here, but I'm not sure if he caught that one, Joseph, but they'll definitely be called stewards as we've got people off. Brando, it's a spin for the ET8, man. This is difficult for ET8, a season that has been absolutely shocking. It's turning out to go even worse. He's down to 19th.
I was following that since the final corner where he got in a little bit hot. There was about 5 cars all trying to take avoiding action on a pretty late overtake, it must be said. Again, he's tried to get his elbows out going into turn number 5, and then ultimately he just started tyre hooking. And, well, not to blame either of them particularly. We know what happens when 2 wheels lock together, is that both drivers tend to go flying off the track. Further back, the battle for P16 is still very much alive. Still ahead of Salter and Bino there as well. All drivers trying to recover their races now. Maybe just take some race learnings. And of course, these medium tyres will be used going into that feature race. They'll want to stay out there if they can help it. And of course, they haven't got any damage to get a full reading into what the feature race could look like.
Looks like Brando has managed to avoid any kind of damage on his car despite that collision, so he's managing to get this move done very easily on the Bravo Racing Club man there. As Lorenz looks like, has he gone for a spin as well? No, he has. He's made a mistake at the final corner, and he's lost a bucket of positions, down 6 now as a result of that one. And the ET8's race going from bad to worse. It might go for the dive going into turn number 1. That's the expectation of someone like Lorenz, but in the end, Ron's not able to get it. It goes for a spin at La Source, and that is a unfortunate scenario for ET8, and unfortunately for ET8, I think it's just the very epitome of their season of WR Legacy Division. They're now 17th and 18th.
The sprint race merchants are having an absolute howler here this evening. Just standing on the loud pedal there, Lawrence, when he'd already made an error, just trying to get a bit too greedy and recover the lost time. Well, it's ended in tears here, and ET8 will be walking away from this one without any points. Further in front, Matt is doing an awesome job at the minute holding this lead. That gap has been shrinking down to about 1/10 since the DRS has been enabled. And it's even going as far back as Thomas here as the pack condenses at the front of the field. Already got some penalties, which is disappointing for Robin and Devil in their fight to take some much needed points from the sprint race, particularly in the AMR camp, of course, in that fight for P2. But of course, yeah, still the big points to play for in the feature.
3 of 9, 4 of 9 when they come across the line. Foster Stay True, Matt, to be fair to him, has been holding pretty well at the moment at the front of the field here, despite the fact he's of course got the DRS attacks potentially from those around him at the moment, as Karim now at the back of the field as ET8 look to try and clamber for the scraps of points in a season which is just one to forget. The last year's runners-up, 2 years of runners-up in fact, for ET8, and they will continue in the trend of just not able to find any kind of mojo. Late breaker from Epic Vale here, as it looks like RSC have had enough of the status quo and want to continue making these inroads. Remember, they start on the front row here tonight, but Epic Vale and Fada Spinoda getting in the mix, and then there comes as well Robin getting the fastest stop of this race, albeit with a penalty. On the last occasion, little hits there between Epic Vale and Thomas, but the 5th place man still trying to get these inroads done. It looks like RSC are a team on a little bit of a mission here.
Yeah, indeed. Epic Vale's got to be careful here, because while the positions have been coming to RSC, yeah, if he starts getting a bit aggressive on Thomas there, it might just compromise Monza ever so slightly. So we see a change in leadership with the DRS. It doesn't go on into the braking zone, but Rev Caterpillar is now in prime position to take your 2nd WR Legacy Division win. They'd both be in F2 and Monza's around. Monza's dropped it, he's kept it out the barrier, but another mistake in this sprint race from a big name, it has to be said, as he drops down now into P10. Got to be careful on that loud pedal, as has everybody else. Warning signs being fired everywhere. Yeah, it looks like people are finding out this track is a little bit greener than they anticipated in cars, which do have this tendency to really spike up. Remember, there's no hybrid technology in these cars. It is purely the 2.4 litre V6 V6 turbos, I think it is, isn't it? In these F2 cars. So as a result of that one, though, and you put the loud pedal down, you do have this tendency to have a little bit of turbo lag, and that could be the
contributing factor to people just putting the foot down and suddenly the car spitting out at you. So what is turning out to be a semi-decent race here for Ventari. It looks like to me, Ventari rather, RSC. It turns out Monza's now got more things to do here to capitalise on this one. Meanwhile, Ventari having an absolute blinder, 4th and 6th respectively now, as it looks like Thomas is trying to close down on Volakongan, and the Volakongan support group that we've got in the chat here tonight. We're a bit disappointed to hear at the moment that although he's definitely one of the more consistent runners at the moment, he's certainly not the fastest out there.
Yeah, doing it for Norway as he always does, Volakongan. And I was just going to comment on the F2 cars around here. Often you find yourself between gears. It's the same like that for most tracks, really. But if you decide halfway through a corner you're going to drop a gear just to try and use the torque to your advantage, then, well, if you've got too much throttle currently pressed down, then yeah, you might well send yourself into a spin. So it's just about being conscious really of what gear you're in before you make the corner, as Matt Reed takes the lead here on lap 5. This one's going to go down to the wire. It's very exciting indeed, and a battle that suits both drivers really, because they know they're probably not outright quickest compared to some of those behind them, but swapping positions every lap with the DRS might well be a good mutual way to see out this sprint race.
3.4, by the way, just a quick correction on my phone. It's a 3.4 litre V6 turbo that powers these cars around the circuit, obviously made by Mechachrome, which means at some point one of them will blow up. But either way, Rev Caterpillar is, he's maintaining the status quo alongside Matt and Volakongan. It's a decent effort so far, but of course, with all of those situations that have happened, Ventari doing a decent job to get Thomas up from 6th to 4th. Nino is down one position to 6th, so still a decent effort nonetheless from Ventari, especially off of the back of the light. They're in a very close battle with the likes of those behind them, ET8 and FRT, and those in front as well. This sprint race turning out to be a nice little points haul at the moment for the front runners, but as it stands so far, SCI, a little bit of a mixed bag. Fana Spinoda in 7th, SCI Volakongan's in 3rd, but for me, the biggest sort of measure of the day so far, I think, is FST. Matt's still holding station quite well at the moment with 4 laps to go.
Oh!
Rev Caterpillar making a mistake there as well, and that has invited a fewer people in there. That's going to allow Matt to start steering away, but he's lost 1, he's lost 2, it may be 3 positions as well. This will allow RSC to get the move done. It's an uncharacteristic mistake, you think, for Rev Caterpillar, a circuit he's known for being very good at, but he's made that mistake at the bus stop. That's allowed Volakongan up to 2nd, Thomas to 3rd, and Epic Vale now up to 4th.
I was trying to watch Thomas go round the outside there at the bus stop chicane, but all of a sudden, Rev Caterpillar's locked up. He's trying to get himself back to the racing line for the final corner. And ultimately, they collide at a 3 abreast sort of movement. It was just unlucky on everybody's part. Though Rev Caterpillar did make the mistake. Now we could be seeing a bit of a dramatic overtake here. Down the inside, he goes Volakongan. He's going to squeeze the Van Amersfoort car off the track, but he's got through ultimately, and he's into P2.
Oh,
he's taken advantage of all the carnage, and there might be a little bit more yet as Nino goes round the outside here. Rev Caterpillar, who's dropped from 2nd to the potential race victory chance all the way down to P6 as he's pit there to the inside of No Name and off again. There's no way that should have happened. His front wing just bounced off his rear right tyre, and he's now down to 8th.
Oh, it's critical stuff here as the race is starting to get a little bit heated. Remember, there's only 2.5 laps left in this race at the moment as well. As I've actually got some insider knowledge here from the paddock chat here as SC Arcade reminding Rev that there's a corner there, which I think is a great mind games. But what's that's allowed is FST a great opportunity to potentially win a sprint race here tonight as a result of this one. And because there's a 1.7 second gap between him and Volakongan, if anything, I think Thomas and Volakongan are probably going to be in their own little scrap. Though they'll close the gap down, is there going to be enough time, I wonder, in this race? To be honest with you, I'm not so sure. If Robin didn't have that 3-second penalty, actually, FST could have been in for some big points here tonight. Rev Caterpillar will get 7th off of the back of Robin, but he'd be wondering if he's got any kind of damage as a result of any collisions that happened at this corner 1 lap ago. As Karim gets a 3-second time penalty, won't make any difference. He's 22 seconds back in P20 at the moment. But as it stands so far, lap 7 of 9, favourites is fastest stay true.
Incredible, really. We saw just how it went FRT's way in the opening round of the season. It might now be fastest stay true's time to shine. They're bottom of the championship on 71 points, 22 behind their nearest competitors in BRC, and BRC are very much,
Vale.
Sorry, I thought you were going to take over there, but Epic Vale. Here we go. Around the outside, it's 3 abreast. Jota not quite going to be as they go through Lake Holm.
Oh, very well held from Thomas, though, to take the lead of this race. Apologies, I think we crossed over there, but they're keeping an eye out on Thomas, though, manages to take the lead of this little train here. But while they're battling, it looks like we've got someone getting in the inside there. Fana Spinoda is trying to squeeze Nino through Bushell, rather, and it looks like, to me, Fana Spinoda is a little bit of a man on a mission at the moment. He knows that he's got to set a precedent here in his first race with the Shazoo Cedar Igniters after leaving Ventauri. He will try to get himself at least into the top 5, try and get in there with Volakongan in the sprint race, get some big points on the board. They want to try and extend their gap against RSC at the moment to themselves, now struggling in the depths of 9th and 10th, where they, 9th rather, where's the other one? I'm trying to have a look now. Oh, it's Epic Vale in P4, so actually down in P9 where Monza started. Epic Vale in cracking position. You've seen something battling this here for P5.
Nino into the gravel again, another moment where just the driver's been forced wide and has to get out of the throttle to prevent anything worse from happening. Now Fana Spinoda's got a clear run on Epic Vale and a slipstream to boot as well. No toe from Epic Vale. Is he going to go down the inside here, Fana Spinoda? No, I thought for a moment he might have a look, but it's Robin instead who's trying to take advantage. This is for P6 on track, and well, it would be an incredible points if he didn't have the penalty. It still could be, actually, with only 2 cars behind him. And down the inside now, Caterpillar changing all the time here. There's going to be a bit of contact as they bump into the first corner. And that was a bit naughty by Riff. I don't think he had to show Robin the sausage curve. But no harm done in the end. And the run will continue. It's Eau Rouge and Radion again.
Yeah, down 5 positions as a result of that mistake at the penultimate corner a few laps ago. But still showing those inroads what he's got. But unfortunately, he's made the move a little bit too early, as it looks like Thomas and Volakongan switching positions. We're going to continue with this battle here. Is Robin going to go for the dive, I wonder? He will not, but locking up again is Rev Caterpillar, starting to feel the front, so just starting to edge out a little bit here in this sprint race with only a lap and a half to go. Yeah, let's be candid here. Fastest Stay True are definitely in the firm driving seat for taking the victory here, as long as they don't make any mistakes, because P2 is battling to determine who's going to be out on top, while Fastest Stay True, they'll continue battle. They can continue to battle. If they keep it clean, they'll still be able to edge away from the rest of the field. Fana Spinoda in P5 at the moment, his teammate up in P2. Great opportunity for SCI to extend their gap on RSC, who themselves down in P4 and P8. And then, of course, you've got that battle for P3, which is so tightly compact at the moment, and they are littered all the way around the field. And AMR having basically a no race. We don't know where they are. They're down in P10 and 11 at the moment, but we haven't really talked about them. They're just not having a race, if I'm perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, just sort of nowhere. Too slow for the front runners, too quick for the back markers at this point in time. So, yeah, some work to do going into the feature race, no doubt about it. But FST Matt, 1.7 seconds out in front. That gap did grow to about 2 seconds briefly. And so it looks like there's going to be no pressure on this final lap whatsoever. But here comes Epic Vale. Can he try and go around the outside of the first corner? He switches to the inside, is late on the brakes. Oh, just overcooks it slightly. It means that Tomas has to go ever so slightly wide. These two might well lose DRS to Volakongan. Thomas will be hoping not, though, as it will allow him to defend a little bit easier. He does manage to shrug away. Epic Vale, or does he? There was contact there from behind. Epic Vale really should have backed out of that one, but he kept his nose in. But instead now we'll have a clear run with Slipstream. Will it be enough, though?
No, I don't know, because you've got Fana Spinoda, who's going to have, obviously, the overspeed compared to these two, but he's actually nudged into the rear and can't get the overtake done. It's a late breaker from Thomas. He gets the lock up as a result, but Fana Spinoda can't make any inroads, and Fana Spinoda is effectively pushing Epic Vale around these set of corners here. He's now heading to Bruxelles. He gets blocked off immediately by Epic Vale. Not going to allow you through, Sunshine, but the SCI man is determined to make the inroads as much as he can. Either way, Ventauri have got a point to prove themselves. He could really do with holding on to the P3 here, could Thomas here, as we've also got further inroads as Rev Caterpillar finally gets the move done on Nino. Nino now down to P7. That's a Ventauri man themselves looking hold on. The former Ventauri man of SCI here looks like he's just about conceding. At P5 is probably the maximum he can achieve. It's still a decent effort though from now the new SCI man. Epic Vale will close down. He's made a mistake. That might offer an opportunity potentially into the next set of corners for Epic Vale. I'm keeping a very firm eye on the situation with Matt, by the way, who looks like he's slowed up considerably. Looks like he's just trying to play a more conservative approach to get this race win over the line, and the race win that FST have been so desperate for so long in a championship which sees them at the foot of the table. It doesn't matter what kind of car you're in. It doesn't matter what kind of format you're going to end up racing with in a season that has proved to be one of the most strangest seasons of WR Legacy Division. It doesn't really matter with fastest stay true proving the fastest stay first. They win here tonight in the sprint race against Volakongan. Thomas finishing in P3 with Epic Vale and Fana Spinoda in the top 5. Rev Caterpillar disappointed with P6 with Nino in P7, Monster in P8, Robin finishing in the end in P9, and Ticho rounding out the top 10. You've got Devil falling down the standings with a critical issue himself. He's down to P17 in a horrible race, it turns out, for AMR, and then a very lowly P13 and P16 for ETA. They have tried to enhance their squad just a little bit at the moment, ETA. It's not a very strong depth at the moment within the squad, and it proves that maybe there's just a few teething issues.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, all the spotlight on fastest stay true at this moment in time, and advice for them: just enjoy it. You know, it's not every day. I mean, they've had a podium this season and a deserved one back in Zandvoort for good measure, but yeah, no, this one is just going to feel that little bit sweeter, standing on the top step for the first time in an actual WOR Legacy Division round. So fair play to them, didn't put a foot wrong throughout the course of that 9-lap race. And I know it's only short, 9 laps, but it does drag here at Spa. Almost 18 minutes there on the clock. With Volakongan in P2 there, of course, just picking up the pieces when it matters. Thomas in P3 had a heated battle with Epic Vale on that final lap, didn't he? It was quite a miracle that at high speed, going down the hill into Eau Rouge, it didn't end up in tears for the pair of them. Fana Spinoda on world debut for SCI, finishing 5th, and still another race to come when we'll start 3rd, don't forget that. So it's an exciting times for him. Rev Caterpillar mistake costing him a P2, a potential P1. He gets points again in 6th place there with Nino and Monza rounding out the points paying positions there. An exciting one, to say the least.
Yeah, disappointing event, I think, for the likes of ET8, and certainly a missed opportunity for the guys in Van Amersfoort as well, and Monza's half spin only getting P8 with the fastest lap of this race suggests there's definitely drop points on the board, but they do start on the front, do the RSC team. We'll take a very quick look at what we've got coming up, though, for this one as well. Here are the drivers for this event here tonight, because we are going to be getting straight into our main race in the same lobby, I believe. There'll be no lobby restart here in World Online restarts racing here for Legacy Division. So here's the situation report. Volakonga and Fana Spinoda leading the way here tonight for SCI. Fana Spinoda on his debut for the Shizou Cedar Igniters. Lorenz also made the switch over from SCI over to ET8 on March 20th. So he represents them for the first time in this championship, of course, well, this season rather. Of course, he's had previous stints with ET8 in the past. You've got Chemo and Rev over at FRT Semi, and then you've got Epic Vale over at RSC on pole here tonight, and a front row lockout for them. Wards and Thomas representing Ventari tonight. Big race for them here, because they want to try and capitalise on a very close championship for P3. You've got Devil and Ticho over at AMR, Danilo and Bino over at BRC, and he said Burke then. Then you've got Matt 7 and Robin over at FST. Matt 7 carrying a very good sprint race victory here tonight with your Sultan Johan at GT10. There'll be no uncle visit here tonight for GT10. Mulder and Phil rounding out the IRT team. Last week, of course, it was a really intense race over in Spain. Silo and Snack ended up, though, taking the top step of the podium, but look how close Uncle was in the end as well, down in P3. Ryderdal managing to get a decent P4 for ETA, and Azim getting a decent P7. We thought was that makings of ETA started to make a bit of a comeback, but unfortunately starting to fall down a little bit. FRT's Adrian and Jude Frederick getting a decent 9th and 11th. FST manages to get points on the board through Harmon. RSC only getting 13th and 14th is a disappointing result for those that are P2 in the standings. Of course, a caveat here, this is after Spain, not inclusive of the events here tonight. Shizou Cedar Igniters leading the way on 330 from RSC on 212, AMR 211, Ventari 201, Future Racing Team on 186, ET8 185, Grand Track 10 180, IRT on 95, BRC 93, FST 71. What a very strong race that was, but it sets the precedent here. ET8 are in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, they're staring down the barrel for a potentially 7th place finish, aren't they? Which would be, even in a gimmicky season, pretty poor by their standards. But yeah, SCI setting their precedent of being back on top in a 1-2 fashion. And yes, they did have Uncle chase them down all the way in that final stint, but was it just too little too late in terms of going for that alternate strategy? Who knows in that one, but he did find a lot of time in clean air and poses a threat every single time he races. But ultimately, driver B needs to be up there for GT10 as well. And indeed, whoever comes in and fills the gaps when Uncle can't race, because of course drivers cannot do every round. It's a 1 in 3 races maximum system per. I don't know, before and after the break, I think it is. So yeah, must for GT10. They need to get some more consistent drivers in and involved, it has to be said. But SCI have never won in Spa. Can they do so today? Can it be Fana Spinoda who flies the flag and takes the top step for the first time? Let's find out.
Let's find out indeed, with these drivers getting themselves ready for the long race in these F2 cars. No more waiting. Let's go racing then here in Spa, as Monza and Epic Vale will lead from the front. But it looks like Fana Spinoda's had an excellent start, looking like he's going to put immediately some pressure on the Epic Vale here to take P2 right out of the hands of RSC here. Opportunity is on the horizon. Brando and Lorenz obviously getting a decent qualifying opportunity for them to bounce back after a very poor sprint race. But side by side, they'll have to go with Ventauris Thomas as they go up Eau Rouge. Very clean, ladies and gentlemen, between these guys as they keep it nice and cool, nice and easy. Brando now managing to get up to P4. But it might get a little bit of a tow here, Will Thomas, as we've got more people getting into a battle. Is Fana Spinoda going to lose the position, I wonder, here to Epic Vale? I'm not entirely sure, but they'll continue side by side through the next corner, and RSC looking to try and get it back. They end up cutting the corner slightly. I have to take a warning for that, one suspects, as Epic Vale tries to close down. Is he going to look for it into Bruchel, I wonder? On this occasion, electing not to do so. It's a real lock-up from Fana Spinoda. Is the opportunity there? Not quite. Epic Vale will hold station. Brando managed to get the jump of Ventauris Thomas, but 5th and 7th for them, 4th and 6th for ET8, 1 and 3 now for RSC, with formerly Ventauris Fana Spinoda, now SCI managing to get into the top 2.
Yeah, I think they might have both taken a warning at Les Combes. Epic Vale first up, holding that inside. Well, sorry, Fana Spinoda holding that inside line. I think he was quite conservative into the right-hander and took too much curb than perhaps what was necessary to avoid a collision. Then, of course, Epic Vale cut the inside. That was quite clear on the camera. In the second part of the chicane. So I think they're both just shaking hands on that one, and have both taken a warning each, but I'll confirm that perhaps a little bit later on in the race, where there might be some track limits penalties on the line. But soft tyres on for the top 8. Red Caterpillar's gone for mediums, has Salter, Phil, Tisho and Mulder down in 19th as well, so we'll be seeing there who stays out a little bit later. And we've got a spinner. Oh no, it's our race winner from the sprint. FS Team Matt has gone around at the penultimate corner, and any chance of a double here this evening has gone drifting away on the opening lap for him.
And curiously, deciding to cut the final corner entirely to try and return onto the grid, which is not ideal, because he's received an immediate 3-second penalty for his troubles. Epic Vale getting on the back of Fana Spinoda. Very poor La Source here from the Shazoo man, so it's offering an opportunity for Epic Vale to potentially get this inroad done now with the DRS available for the pair of them. It looks like Monza will prefer to have them boxed in, but they're not talking with each other. Now they are, but down the inside, Fana Spinoda will go to take the position anyway, and that goes to show, I think, a situation for RSC is going to continue battling through there, as it looks like Fana Spinoda will argue that the gap was just simply not there, but Epic Vale will say, you shut the door on me, and that's allowed ETA's Brando into the mix down the inside of Bruchel as they head towards No Name. Surely the advantage is going to fall in favour of the RSC man, and that's exactly what's happened, but he'll get the better exit, will Brando, potentially going through into the quick left-hander, but on this occasion he'll have to hold station. Very interesting scenario happening here, folks. Shazoo now take the lead of this race. Fana Spinoda on his debut here tonight, now leading this race here in Belgium, as RSC now down to 2nd and 3rd place respectively, but there will be questions about how he managed to claim it.
I think ultimately, wrong place, wrong time in the end. Fana Spinoda just trying to control his overspeed there as he completed the overtake, and it still kind of took him an extra couple of corners just to try and control his momentum there. So yeah, we need another closer look back for sure And, well, I think RSC might be on the virtual phone about that one to the stewards. But looking at Brando behind now, he had a little bit of an interesting sprint race. Wasn't quite getting his car under control. It's a braking zones. He's gone down the inside here. He's going to squeeze Epic Vale wide. He forces his way back up the inside. Brando's lost a couple of positions as a result. Tomas comes through back into his trusty old P4. And he might now have a go on Epic Vale. No, he doesn't into the first corner. But yeah, Brando just compromising himself again through braking that isn't quite up to scratch. He doesn't look confident at all in trying to make overtakes.
He doesn't at the moment, and ETA are in real trouble because Lorenz is down in P10 at the moment as well. So the ETA Spanish outfit, one of the front-running Spanish outfits at the moment, currently getting absolutely trashed by AMR in the standings here, but in the race it's very much a mixed bag, as it looks like Epic Vale is going to lose a position to Tomas and make that against Brando as well. RSC's race is going very rapidly indeed, and that's all just purely, in my opinion, as they head through towards Lacombe. They didn't work with each other. They didn't box Fana Spinoda in time, so then they could allow to work with each other, and that, I think, is just the epitome of RSC's problems at the moment. They're a front-running team out of nowhere, and they just haven't got those kind of processes absolutely nailed down at the moment.
Yeah, quite right. Just not making the correct decisions when it comes to being able to take leads and holding on to leads, which is certainly very important when the likes of SCI are in town. But same can be said about a lot of the teams that have fallen off their perch, really, including ETA. I mean, I'm hesitant watching Brando still because his car control, certainly at the previous lap, looked like he was all over the place coming through. I think it's turn 14 and turn 12 and 13. Nearly got that right off the top of my head, but yeah, it just doesn't quite look in check at the moment. And you'd think F1 and F2 cars, maybe some of that drifting, the car control might transfer, but no, it doesn't look to have done so at all, as Rev Caterpillar now starts to apply a bit of pressure. We've got drivers in at the end of lap 3, so race leader Fana Spinoda, Tomas, Brando and Epic Vale all come in to change onto medium tyres nice and early. We know they can do the full distance. They did it in the sprint.
Yeah, that's the situation report then for all of these drivers. Rev Caterpillar on the inverse strategy on the medium tyre, starting to make some inroads against the likes of Volokong, and I'm going to be interested to see how people look across the rest of the field here. We do have a very strong battle starting to brew here with the ART representation in Predestinato, getting in a close battle with the international racing team driver of Phil, ever the veteran, managing to hold off any kind of attack from Predestinato, has allowed Karim to get into the battle here a little bit, as the Dams man representing, of course, FRT, looking to get into a strong battle here, as it looks like we've got a little bit of inroads starting to be built, I think, just in front there between Phil and Lorenz, who's now down to P7, as it looks like the medium tyres really starting to come into their own here, as we've got Predestinato potentially looking around the outside, but Lorenz not able to get the power down, and look at that, you can see just the horrible tank slappers that they're getting out of the corners. These soft tyres have already fallen completely off a cliff. Lorenz and Karim getting squeezed off there. The ET8 man obviously not comfortable out there and trying his hardest to defend, but Lorenz on his debut again for ET8 here tonight, losing another position now against Karim, who's on the same tyre strategy as well. Is Predestinato going to look for it as well in an uncharacteristic corner? No, not on this occasion, but you can tell the frustration starting to build on the Frenchman.
Yeah, certainly. And I think just overall as a team, it's not boiling over, but yeah, you can just trying to see they're chasing pace that they haven't quite got, and it's resulting in quite a few mistakes at this moment in time. As for Karim, that is a rebranded Karakimo for this evening. He was nowhere in the sprint race, finished about 30 seconds off the back of the main pack anyway, but he's found some sort of life in this sprint race so far, and he's currently running in a points-paying position. They run all the way down to P15. Drives in the pit lane as overtakes go on. It doesn't look good.
Oh, just keeping a very firm eye on that situation that was building between the likes of Lorenz and the strong battle with Predestinato, and they ended up colliding, going through into the bus stop chicane, and thankfully for Predestinato, his oversteer was heading him in the direction of where he wanted to go anyway, which was the pits. So fresh set of medium tyres now on the car. He hasn't lost too much time as a result of that collision, but he will of course come out behind Lorenz in this one here, as we've got plenty of overtaking happening directly in front of those who have made their pit stop stops already, of course, as Brando is now, of course, trying to chase down a very strong battle with the likes of Monza, who's got a great exit, to be fair, has Brando out of La Source, and it looks like an opportunity maybe on the cars to make an overtake before we get anywhere near Lacombe, as they head now down towards the DRS straight with the DRS now open. Both cars have got DRS, of course, but on this occasion, the toe working an absolute treat for Brando, because he's going to get this move done surely as he tries to defend it down the inside line here, does Monza, and he might get it, you know, a little bit of a too late on the brakes once again from Brando, and that's offered an opportunity for Monza to defend it. He'll hold into the inside line of Bruchel, but they'll continue going through here. Off camber, it's going to result in a collision into the side pod. Brando does get that one done, but they continue side by side going through No Name, but surely around the outside the traction's there. Is Monza still there? No, he's electing not to battle too hard now as he heads through the left-hander, and it looks like that one is done and dusted. He blocks off Nino actually in that battle in Dirkson's car as Epic Vale tries to go around the outside of the move against Nino. That's a great move indeed. RSC up to 10th and 11th place respectively, as it looks like to me Monza's just trying to get his tyres still up to temperature at the moment.
Yeah, it does take a while in the F2 cars. Of course, Monza didn't want to battle there because he came out in such a great position whereby he could have just maybe warmed them up on the Kemmel Straight and just stuck in the DRS of Fanna Spinoda and Tomas. Tomas now in the net lead of this race as now Karakimo comes into the pit lane as well. So that's our last soft runner in, and the positions will start to slowly filter back to normal once we have our medium runners in as well in a few laps. But yeah, Brando just looking again all over the place into the braking zone. That's cost him 2 or 3 tenths just looking at the delta there. So Monza will want to get this position back ASAP in order to continue his fight for the race win on what is a 1 lap set of fresher medium tyres. So yeah, Monza in a good position. We can't afford to be sat behind Brando for too long.
Tomas and Fanna Spinoda have been battling hammer and tong for the net lead of this race here. It looks like Fanna Spinoda is going to reclaim the lead of this race out of the hands of the team that brought him 6 months of great racing. Now at SCI, he retakes the lead of this race in front of Tomas as we keep an eye out on Brando, who's still defending very well at the moment against Monza, but those later braking from Brando, it feels like, I don't know, like I'm not one for setups here, but it just feels as if perhaps his brake pressure is just a little bit too low maybe, so he's trying to apply more brake pressure, which is causing his rear to step out a little bit. So maybe a combination of his bias being a little bit too far back and his brake pressure being a bit too low, and that's causing Brando to just lose time hand over fist against the front two at the moment. Of course, they're helping each other out with DRS, but of course that's just going to allow, if RSC can get their mojo back together to work with each other, an opportunity to get past the ET8 man and try and close down, if they can, on the former Ventari man and the current Ventari man in the prospective P1, P2.
Yeah, the grip is there, the setup works, it looks great, he's not losing too much time through the corners, but again, I think he's just trying to tinker throughout the lap, move it forward, move it back on that brake bias, and ultimately just not getting it right, where he needs to be getting it right. Let's have a look. It feels like we're putting him under pressure here, but going into the bus stop chicane, yeah, that was a lot better than the previous lap. So maybe just forgetting on some occasions that, oh, hang on a minute, I'm in an F2 car, I need to just readjust here. And the brake bias does mean an awful lot in these cars, just as it does in F1 cars as well. So yeah, maybe just something going on with the brake bias there, but yeah, almost back into the DRS range of Tomas, which Monza might be frustrated about because he'd want the opportunity to get through, and rather this not become a DRS train, but equally should secure Brando the opportunity for a podium, which at the start of the day, and certainly after the sprint race, looked quite unlikely.
Trading blows are the former teammates now, with Tomas back in front of the lead of this main race here. Lap 7 of 13. Not many laps of racing to go here, folks, so they've got to get a shift on. Now, Brando's just got the fastest lap of this race, so I'm wondering if he's heard your calling a little bit here, Joseph, and just started to find his mojo a little bit in that Invicta. Now, he's not managed to make any severe inroads against Tomas and Fanna Spinoda, but it's allowing him to keep that distance from the RSC team, who are looking to take a big points haul here tonight to close down the gap on the front in SCI. The problem is SCI have got a man directly in front of them, even if Folakongan is down in what will be a prospective P9 at the moment, down in P14 as it stands, as he's stuck in a little bit of a train behind AMR's Devil at the moment, and of course FST's Robin up in P12. Situation report though for them, as it stands so far, trading blows between the former Ventari man and the current Ventari man. Obviously the former Ventari man now at SCI will at least get a decent points haul to try and cover off the attack from RSC, but it looks like SCI might be losing points here tonight.
Yeah, obviously that win in Spain, the 1-2 in Spain, them a massive favour, and so they can afford to lose points in rounds like this. Of course, they had a car in P16 back in the opening round in Monaco, and that didn't seem to create any concerns about how they'd perform in the F1 rounds. But still, potential P1 on the cards for Fana Spinoda would be nothing short of incredible when they aren't really the favoured team, when so many surprises can spring your way in these F2 rounds. Up to the top of Radion then, and we're about to see another change in leadership. We'll see top speeds here of about 200 miles an hour. The DRS opens for Fana Spinoda in Arvid Lindblad's car. He graduated to F1, and Fana Spinoda is making the most of his graduation to SCI with a brilliant move there, and Monza gets through as well. That's critical for him, but can he close the gap?
I'm wondering if Brando's going to start to get a little bit agitated by that now, because the gap was 1.3 and he's starting to lose time a little bit. And look at that, a big lockup at Rochelle there. So that is an indication Brando's starting to get a little bit frustrated maybe. Of course, the dirty air not helping him out either. But of course, these generation of F2 cars are loosely based on the newer F2 and of course the older generation rather of F1 cars. So this means that the dirty air is obviously being trucked over and up into the air. So yeah, dirty air still in effect, but not a massive challenge in comparison to the old F2 car. Either way, Epic Vale is now looking to try and get past Brando if he can. This is a big opportunity for them, obviously, to continue stretching their legs against ETA and then cover off any kind of I don't know, situation with the likes of SCI, with Fana Spinoda now back in the lead of this race. We've got finally our first of our medium starters to now pit. Rev Caterpillar for FRT now in for a fresh set of soft tyres to the end of this race.
Yeah, he felt pretty lonely out there in front. A couple of cars coming behind, including Salter, who can wave goodbye to his race and Grand Track 10 in 18th and maybe lower. With Salter's penalty, that's going to drop him right down to the rear of the field when everything's applied at the end of this one. Yeah, another disaster in the GT10 camp in races that don't include Uncle, it has to be said.
Now keeping an eye on Monza, sorry to interrupt, Joseph, he's managed to get, would you believe, straight into the DRS territory of Thomas and Fana Spinoda. He's had a cracker of a lap. He's set the fastest lap of this race. Now Thomas and Fana Spinoda no doubt will now trade positions once again, as they have been now for probably about 5 laps time here, as Ventari retake the lead of this race. Oh, hello, we've also got a little bit of a scrap happening here between Nino and Robin, as Fastest Stay True want to take the points, but it's lackadaisical to say the least from Robin. He'll lose the position. Wow, he's managed to hold on to that one though. Lackadaisical, and then a fantastic save from Robin. Actually, Nino giving the position up, but that might have caught AMR's Devil a little bit in the lurch there. Has he got the double? He has got the double. Wow, wow, wow.
That's AMR back on good form. There we go. That's what we want to see from them. Nino's fighting back though on Robin. 2-lap older medium tyres. Tried to got the inside at Puon. I was hoping he didn't understeer there into him. But fair play to Robin. He's left the space here. FST have been class all evening long in terms of how they've raced. Round the outside now goes Nino at turn 13. Yes, he's held it. Brilliant move there in the AIX car. And Robin is relegated down there into P10 with Volakongan now on his tail as well. I'm surprised to not see him in the top 10. He's just sort of been stuck as a passenger behind all this, watching and waiting for his opportunity, as he so often does. Yeah, Max Testerson car looking very strong at the moment. The number 23, Shryden, looking like it's not just going to be one, but it might be 2 positions. It looks like Robin's just playing the waiting game here. Is he going to look for it into the bus stop chicane, I wonder? The gap is going to be there. He goes for the dive, maybe? No, he won't on this occasion. He'll hold on here, but a little mistake then from the bus stop chicane there from Nino. That's, of course, the man representing Venturi here tonight, as Thomas now taking the lead of this race from Fana Spinoda. Monza really closing up the gap here, as it looks like Robin
is just playing the patient game, trying to get in the DRS of the AIX man here, trying to get P8. It's, I think, a fastest stay true. The best way to describe their situation at the moment is not too bad in terms of individual performances. A great sprint race victory from the other man of Matt, and fastest stay true's Robin looking to just try and capitalise on some decent effort here. Now he's going to find himself in a very good P7 at the moment. Individual performance-wise, fastest stay true looking very strong indeed. Volakonga and SCI will also get the move done on Nino, as well as Ventauri is relegated down to P9 as a result of that one. Very topsy-turvy between our front-running drivers at the moment, front-running teams rather, other than RSC, who are 3rd and 5th.
Yeah, for FST, after 4 pretty lackluster races in a row, with not finished higher than 11th, of course. Flashback to that podium back in Zandvoort, their main highlight of the season so far. I think a P7 here today could probably rival that when you combine it with their sprint race victory as well. 3 laps to go when we cross the line. Tomas from Fana Spinoza, from Monza, from Brando. Epic Vale still involved in this top 5 fight as well. It's difficult to see it looking any other way than potentially Fana Spinoza versus Tomas. But I tell you what, Monza really starting to pick up the pace at this moment in time. Can he stay close enough for a late attack here? Fana Spinoza, a threat neutralised because he has DRS as well. Is he going to try and hold on to P2 at the expense of Monza not being able to get through and take this victory? Yeah,
electing not to go for the move at the bus stop chicane on this occasion, but a little bit too late on the brakes from Fana Spinoza. Got a feeling at the moment that the SCI man is just starting to overdrive the car a little bit. 7/10 of a second between him and Thomas will mean that he'll get DRS, but with Monza so close behind, look, a mistake there from Fana Spinoza. They're going to go side by side, potentially, a little nudge as they go through up towards Eau Rouge, but they'll both get DRS off of each other. Just Fana Spinoza against Thomas. They continue going side by side as they go up Eau Rouge. He's got to keep it clean here, folks, as Monza does get the move done on the SCI man, but he'll get DRS. They'll both get DRS as a result of this one, so they're both going to continue racing down here. And look at Brando trying to get in the mix as well. He might get boxed in a little bit. Surely not going to go for the move. It's later on the brakes from Monza, and it looks like it's going to be a mistake. Brando! Collision with the SCI man. ET8 SCI getting into banging of wheels once again, folks. Brando now up to P3, as it looks like here Fana Spinoza might just be trying to fight here for P5. Opportunity for a switchback can't be covered by Epic Vale. He stays in P5, but Fana Spinoza was battling for the lead. He's now off of the podium.
Fana Spinoza, I've just read the VNT and Ventari might win this race with Tomas. Yes, let's address that. But Fana Spinoza, what a save, as he almost had that car in a spin due to that contact. Just held the wheel, didn't overcompensate, and just, well, probably held his breath as well for good measure, as he drops down now into P4, with Monza now having to do the hard work again of getting back into the DRS of Tomas, who is probably ducking down in his AIX car, hoping for some extra straight line speed like he's in a go-kart, just to try and bridge the gap to Monza in AIX's pursuit of a second race victory of the season. Their first, ironically, since the opening round in Monaco in the feature race. Tomas drifting through the bus stop chicane. Remarkable how these cars get pushed to the limits, even by drivers that are more experienced in the F1 cars side of things, in their pursuit of F1 esports potentially one day. They're not going to ever get to F2 esports, but it's an absolute joy to watch at the minute. Another mistake at the first corner for Tomas. I think he's overdriving it now. Monza's just found 4/10 in the final few corners.
And that's given him DRS as well, which means he can defend from Brando, who's going to be absolutely livid because he could have sensed a P2 potentially on the cards, but he's a lot closer, is Brando to Monza than Monza is to Tomas. And that might offer him a nice little tow heading down towards Lacombe. Is there going to be any kind of move, I wonder, on this occasion? It doesn't look like he's close enough, though, so they'll maintain the status quo. But Monza now 0.3 of a second. That little mistake at La Source might have cost Thomas a chance, and Ventauri a chance to win this race here tonight. And RSC have got a shout at this one. Epic Vale needs to find some inroads quickly because he's about to fall out of the 1 second barrier, and he has done to Fana Spinoza. It looks like it's going to be a front four battle as Epic Vale tries to stay within touching distance. Devil being in P6 and 2.5 seconds back with that time penalty means it is these front five who are going to be battling for the race victory here. It'll either be Ventauri, it'll either be RSC, it'll either be ET8, or it'll either be the amazing driver that is Fana Spinoza for the amazing team themselves, our championship leaders at SCI.
Yeah, incredible, really. It's so hard to predict what this, all these point gains can do to the standings at this moment in time. So if you're just joining us for the first time this evening, it is so close. Just points separating teams on occasions. RSC and AMR separated by a point. FRT and ET8 separated by a point in their various championship fights. Just before we get on to the final lap, if Rev Caterpillar can overtake Volokonga, he's on for a net P6, which would be a great result for him and FRT. IRT Phil cleared Predestinato on this lap. He's up into P11. T-Show waiting in the wings behind as well, also on soft tyres, having done the alternate strategy. That's our little catch-up with what's going on back then. Let's go to the fight at the front. This is potentially Monza's to lose. How is his exit out of La Source?
Fantastic, to say the least. Thomas has been really struggling at La Source. We've got people crashing out of this race. Looks like they've crashed out just before there between Lorenz and Johan. That's GT10 and ET8. There'll be no safety car now. It's too late in the end of this race. Nino's just been disqualified from this race. Don't know why. I think it might be because he's not used the correct tyre compounds. Either way, he'll now head his way. DRS detection. And it looks like to me, Ventauri are going to lose this one, as there goes the move. Makes RSC winners once again, potentially, in this race. Brando is doing the best that he can to hold off a battle from SCI here with Fana Spinoda, who's having an appalling first sector at the moment, if I'm perfectly honest with you. Epic Vale's now 1.9 seconds back here, so it is now all about these front four in this little battle. Monza now leading the way from Ventauri, from ETA, and from Shazoo. One of these four teams in the top four will take the race victory here tonight, and it's looking ever more likely as people in the chat saying, oh, it's an easy Ventauri win. I'm not so sure, folks. This has been a season where you cannot predict what can happen all the way until that final corner, and there's no prediction here about who the race victory is going to be, despite the fact we're halfway through our final lap. Monza has done an absolutely amazing effort to try and reclaim the front two, at least a front two spot at least, for RSC, and to defend this one. He's made a little mistake going through here. That might cost him a bit of time. Thomas will now use everything that he can to try and get as close as he can. Remember, there's no electrical energy here, so it's all about using the toe and the raw power of the Mechachrome 3.4 litre V6 turbo to try and take his way all the way here. I did say don't make any predictions right at the end. Thomas trying to get as close as he can, going through to the bus stop chicane. It's going to be a late breaker around the outside here from the AIX man, but he's going to lose the rear ever so slightly. Oh, he spun the car at the final corner. RSC are going to be the winners here tonight from Brando. ET8 have got P2. Ventauri are on the podium. It's P4 in the end from RSC. Ventauri's Thomas finishing in a lowly P5. Volokonga finishing in P6 from Rev Caterpillar. Robin in a very good P8. AMR finished somehow in 9th and 10th after all of this one. Phil finishing in 11th. Matt having a horrible race down in 12th with Salter in 13th. And then he'll drop down to 15th with Predestinato taking that from Mulder and Matt. And then Karim finishing down at the back alongside Bino. Lorenz and Johan crashed out on the penultimate lap. Nino pitted too early. And that's the reason why when he went off the soft to the medium tyre, he's been disqualified. Monza wins and a very, very shaky final corner. I think these results are provisional, Joseph.
Well, Thomas, he didn't need to do it. Yes, the opportunity was there to go around the outside. He lost control of the car under braking. He just had a small rear lock, but then he stuck his nose in again. It was never going to be an open gap for him. It was never going to be a gap that Monza was willing to open up for him after his own mistake. And unfortunately, he's cost himself 3 more positions because of that. He was hungry for the race win. You cannot blame him for some of the errors really that he made, including running wide at La Source in order to give Monza the DRS. Just small things like that. Yeah, they do add up over the course of a race, but that was just fatal at the end there to go and do that. So such a shame to see. He'll be back, you know, still new to the Legacy Division business. I'm sure he'll have another good crack when we have the F2 cars again. Maybe even we'll see him perform strongly in F1 as well. But yeah, Monza, the deserved winner, pit that lap later, but still came out in a net P3, and that's what enabled him to go on and really push for that race victory. Congratulations to him.
Yeah, congratulations indeed. There will be some questions from the stewards. I think we're going to have plenty of incidents across the board here tonight. So ET8 managing to get on the podium in the end from Fanna Spinoda in P3. Epic Vale making a P4 is a great result for RSC here tonight. Ventauris Thomas in a very lowly P5. He'll be disappointed he's finished where he started because he had more pace in him than that one. Volakongan in P6 from Rev Caterpillar. Robin, great race from FST and great weekend, to be fair, from an individual performance perspective from FST. Ticho and Devil rounding out the top 10. Phil, Predestinato, Mulder, Matt, Yasolta, Karim and Bino rounding out our finishers. Lorenz and Johan will classified 2 laps down. Nino disqualified for not following the rules. So, situation report then for the calendar, which apparently I'm just hitting every button I can. There we go. Is that we are now done with our Formula 2 cars. We're now heading over to the Las Vegas Grand Prix next week on March 31 for the Fours race. Our final of the Fours races at a circuit that wide should be a very, very interesting event ahead of us. But F2 is the Monaco F2 was mental. Belgium F2 was mental. Whatever happens with the Legacy Division next season, F2, if we are going to continue with this mental format, has to be considered because that F2 cars races have been fantastic from start to finish on both of the events.
I agree. It's actually a shame. I thought there might have been one more round, but then I realised, oh no, actually there isn't. Looking at that calendar, yeah, maybe it will have to be a permanent feature, whether we just use this format in regular WOR seasons to come, if there is any more going into the new game, just to spice it up a bit, offer something different for those who want to have a crack at F2 cars. Maybe they felt a little bit inspired watching that, but it is a great alternative to racing on the F1 games and should be preserved as a feature for long to come. I do hope so. But yeah, next week we're back to Fours, and of course that was ET8's opportunity in Austria to finally get some points on the board. Again, looking at the standings, I think they'll stay 6th. So however these lobbies will shape up, might well be a case of them, struggling behind some of their former rivals. But yeah, another great event here this evening. I'll leave you with long live F2.
Long live F2 indeed. I've just had a look at the chat as well. You'll see what I've just posted on that one. Yeah. Melwin saying easy Ventari when I talk about curse. That's a horrible jinx indeed. As said, Las Vegas next week then for the Fours races. After that, we have a double header at Saudi Arabia and Bahrain for our final of our reverse championship races. We do another Ban Hards event at the United States Grand Prix at COTA, a race which is highly known for its strategy and of course the undercut. So banning Hards should make for a very interesting event. Our last mystery race, of course, round 13, and we're going to wrap it up where else but Sao Paulo on April 28 for our final F1 sprint race in what has been an absolutely topsy-turvy calendar of WOR Legacy Division Season 7. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time in Las Vegas. Take care. Ta-ra!